So, imagine this. You're gifting your teenager a reliable old sedan. But instead of just handing them the keys, you accidentally hand them a massive, completely unexpected tax bill. Ouch, right? Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we are breaking down the surprisingly tricky legal process of transferring a family car title right here in Indiana. Whether you're passing down that trusty family minivan or inheriting a classic from your grandfather, this is your comprehensive, start-to-finish guide to getting it absolutely right.
Now, I want to start by throwing a question your way. If you gift a car to a family member, are you genuinely prepared for the tax bill? I know. You're probably thinking, wait, it's a gift? Why on earth would there be a tax bill? Well, that is exactly the false assumption that trips up so many well-meaning families. Just because no actual cash changes hands doesn't mean the state automatically views the transaction as completely free of tax implications.
Because what we are really talking about here is 7%. That's the standard Indiana gross retail or sales tax rate that applies to vehicle purchases. When a car changes hands at a private transaction, the default legal framework assumes this 7% tax applies to the fair market value or purchase price of the vehicle. If you mess this process up, the person receiving the car might be on the hook for a huge unexpected bill when they finally go to register it. So, how do we legally bypass this? Here is our game plan for This Explainer. First, we'll cover the family transfer advantage. Second, gathering your required documents. Third, the step-by-step transfer process. Fourth, navigating fees and taxes. Fifth, common pitfalls you need to avoid. And finally, some crucial wrap-up tips.
All right, let's dive right into Section 1, the family transfer advantage.
The whole secret to making this work lies in Indiana Code Section 6.2.5-5-15.5. This is the statutory exemption, usually known as Exemption 11, that allows intrafamilial title transfers to happen without triggering that nasty state sales tax. This exemption legally kicks in when the transaction is just changing a motor vehicle title to add or delete an individual. But, and this is a big but, you have to pay very close attention to the specific relationships outlined in the law. We are talking about a spouse, child, grandparent, parent, or sibling. That is it.
You might be genuinely surprised by just how strict the Indiana Department of Revenue is when they interpret this law. They rely on the plain, literal meaning of words, literally checking Black's Law Dictionary. An administrative ruling actually confirmed that transferring a car to a parent's in-law does not qualify for this exemption because an in-law is a relative by marriage, not a direct parent. It's crazy how exact the wording is. If you try to use this family exemption for a cousin or an in-law, the state is absolutely going to hit you with that 7% tax. No exceptions.
Moving right along to Section 2, gathering your required documents.
Before you even think about stepping foot inside a Bureau of Motor Vehicles branch, here is your essential checklist. First and foremost, you need the certificate of title itself, and it must be signed by all current owners in the seller's section. Second, and this is your golden ticket, you need Form ST-108E. This is the tax exemption form. You have to check the box for Exemption 11 and fill out the direct relative identification statement. Third, grab State Form 43230, which is the odometer disclosure statement. You'll definitely need this if the mileage isn't recorded directly on the title. And finally, State Form 44237, the bill of sale. It's optional but highly recommended to prove the transaction details, even for a gift.
Listen, before you pick up a pen, you need to hear this critical warning. Never ever use whiteout, erase an entry, or scribble over a mistake on a vehicle title. A title is a strict legal document. If you make a mistake and try to cover it up with correction fluid, you will literally void the document entirely. You have to use blue or black ink and write carefully. If you do mess up, you'll be dealing with title correction affidavits, which is a massive headache you absolutely want to avoid.
Okay, let's jump into Section 3, the step-by-step transfer process.
Let's break the actual physical execution down into a super easy chronological checklist. Step 1, clear any existing liens. If the car has a loan, the bank basically owns it and you cannot transfer the title until it's completely paid off and the bank releases their interest. Step 2, convert an e-title to paper. Indiana uses electronic titling now, so if your title is electronic, you've got to request a physical paper copy online via MyBMV or at a branch before you can do a private transfer. Step 3, accurately sign all the documents we just went over. Step 4, the new owner has to secure minimum liability auto insurance in their name. And finally, Step 5, take all that paperwork and your ID down to the BMV.
Now here is exactly why you cannot drag your feet on this. The clock starts ticking the very moment the seller signs and dates the title. Day 1 is your transfer date. You have exactly 45 days to complete this transaction at the BMV. If you stroll into the branch on day 46, you are going to get hit with an automatic administrative penalty. Time is quite literally money here, folks.
Let's move to Section 4, Navigating Fees and Taxes.
So, tax-exempt does not mean the entire process is free. Bureaucracy always comes with administrative fees. The standard title transfer fee is $15. Now, if you're in a rush and need the physical title processed faster, you can ask for a speed title, which is an extra $25. If the recipient is transferring an existing license plate to this new car, there's a $9.50 fee for that. And, like we just talked about, if you miss that 45-day window, you'll be paying a $30 late transfer penalty. I need to make a really crucial clarification here. The family exemption we've been talking about, it only weighs the 7% sales tax on the actual transaction. It does absolutely nothing to waive the annual excise tax. Indiana charges an annual excise fee to register and plate a vehicle, and that's calculated based on the vehicle's age and its original retail value. So even if a family member hands you the keys completely for free, you are still going to have to pay the state to register it every single year.
All right, Section 5. Common pitfalls and scenarios you really want to avoid.
This is probably the biggest trap out there. Let's say a parent wants to gift their kid a car, but there's still a $10,000 loan on it. The parent says, "Hey, I'll give you the car, you just take over the monthly payments." Well, in the eyes of the Indiana Department of Revenue, assuming someone else's debt is legally classified as consideration. It's basically a form of payment. And because consideration is involved, the transaction is no longer a pure gift. And poof, the family tax exemption is completely voided. That kid would now owe 7% sales tax on the remaining loan balance they just assumed.
Here's another common one. What if your sister lives in Illinois and gifts you her car? Any vehicle coming from outside of Indiana has to undergo a mandatory physical VIN inspection before the state will issue an Indiana title. You can't just walk in with the out-of-state paperwork and expect it to go through. You can get this inspection done for free at any BMV branch, or if the car isn't running, you can actually have a law enforcement officer come out and complete State Form 39530 for a small fee.
And finally, Section 6, Conclusion and Final Tips. Real quick, a crucial disclaimer. While we have rigorously pulled all this information directly from current Indiana Administrative Code and BMV documentation, bureaucratic rules and fees absolutely can and do change. Always double-check with your local BMV branch or a legal professional before you sign on the dotted line. To wrap this all up, I want to leave you with a thought. Is your family transfer truly tax-free, or did you accidentally just assume a taxable car loan? Take a hard look at your transaction. Are you transferring to an in-law? Are you taking over a loan? Are you past that 45-day mark? By understanding these exact rules, gathering the right forms, and taking your time with the paperwork, you can make sure that a generous family gift doesn't accidentally turn into a stressful, expensive tax burden. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and happy titling.